Hello. Hello. Yeah. Hello. How you doing? How's things? How's life? How's the universe? How has your week been? We good? Yeah? Everybody done moving their bins outside? Wonderful. Hello. How's things? How has your week been? Mine has been frantic. Thanks for asking. Oh dear. Hello, Mr. Wright. Hey, man. How's things? Good to have you. I'm fidgeting with a new tool. I keep making the board smaller, which I'm quite sort of pleased about in a bit of a weird way. Yeah. I will explain the tool in good time, I'm sure. Probably several times over the course of the stream because I have a bad habit of repeating myself. Hello, Simon. How you doing? How's things? Soda ball in the back of my ear. Via. No, it's not. Interesting. Yes, hello. How you doing? How's things? I'd also be interested to hear what people think of the video essay from Monday if you've had a chance to see it. Is that thunder? Or is that just can't be. The second essay it stops. Funny that. Yeah. Apologies for the extra noise, especially road noise. It's rather hot here in the UK, and while I do have my portable air conditioning unit that is just over there, off, I do have the windows open and this fan on, as you can see. And if it does get too hot, I will turn the air conditioning on, at least in fan mode, especially because it's still connected to my solar power system. Although my solar power system is doing pretty well in terms of power, so storage. I generated 5 kilowatts today. Where would the thunder have come from? Like, isn't it clear skies? Weird. Nice one, right. Hello Joe, how you doing? Look how long your hair is now. I know. It's like actually pretty. I mean, if I go around the front, it's quite the length. It's raining. Well, that's not what I expected to hear. Huh. Well, there you go. But how you doing, Joe? How's things? Check a lightning tracker, it will tell you. All right. Da, 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 da. Seeing as it's a tech question, and that's kind of what we're here. A 4090 and a 4900 KS. It was Thunder. Hmm. Or a 9800X 3D and a 5080. Gosh, that's a good question. I do not have exact data for you, so I would want to double check some benchmarks before making any decisions on that. However, assuming that the current performance is pretty similar, which I have a sneaking suspicion it might be, I would personally probably go for the 9800X 3D and the lower end graphics card. And here's my reasoning. One, AMD socket will last for the next decade. worth of new CPUs. So, if and when the 9800X 3D becomes less than the absolute monster of a thing that it is, you will be able to upgrade CPU in socket with no problems. Point two, you're much more likely to upgrade your graphics card at a later date than you are to upgrade the CPU, especially because the CPU often comes with upgrading motherboard and often RAM and often cooler at the same time, whereas a graphics card is a one part swap. You just buy another one, take the one you've got currently out and use it in another PC, sell it, whatever, and then put the new one in, and you've upgraded the card. So my preference in if I'm going to be spending that amount of money is to do it properly in that you buy the things that are going to be the best for the longest. So in this case, the 9800X3D is a ridiculously fast CPU that is going to be a ridiculously fast CPU, especially for gaming, for the next many years. Whereas a 1400K or KS, it's a great CPU, runs a bit hot, sure, but very fast CPU, and obviously with a 4090, you're probably going to get similar or possibly even better performance than the other config. But you're not going to upgrade that CPU anytime soon. But you probably will upgrade the graphics card. So yeah, AMD socket compatibility and human nature for upgrades would be why I would go the 9800X3D, assuming you can find one. Although perhaps double check the performance figures on both of those sort of configs to see just what the performance delta is, because if it is a very significant delta, which to be honest I don't think it would be, in fact it might even be in the 9800X3D's favor, it's fine. But yeah, there's my rambling mess of an answer. I think you've had more hair on your head than I've had in my entire lifetime. I'm blessed. I've always had fairly thick hair, and that's only helping me here because the longer your hair gets, the more it seems to fall out. Hello B, how you doing? Good to have you again. I don't know why it never occurred to me that it's Friday morning for you lot down under. I don't know why that never occurred to me, but fair enough. I think it's mostly because I generally deal with like American time zones for stuff. If I have to do a video call with PR people, it's often done in the evening because it's morning for Americans, and so I'm more used to thinking in that direction, not going forward. But yeah. Hello Ish, how you doing? Sending extra cool air to all y'all melting peeps. Thank you, we need it. It's quite warm today. Had to load up 2 vans in it. Oof. Not complaining because it would be cold again soon. Well, I kind of hope so because it's going to be 10 degrees on Saturday. Wow. All right, that's quite ridiculous. Yeah, it was. In fact, I have a temperature sensor in the garden. It was 30 degrees in my garden today. 29.4, 29.6, 29.3. Yeah. Yeah. Which, considering it's, I don't think, does the Enviro have humidity as well? It should do, shouldn't it? Question is, did I set it up right? Yeah, so it was only about 20% humidity at 30 degrees. So not horrendous, but not great. Not great either. Hello, Bazaar. How you doing? How's things? I burned my hands on the steering wheel, had to drive with one finger because it was too hot until the aircon cooled it down. So I was in hospital getting another infusion again earlier in the week. Was it Monday? was Monday. And yeah, my car was parked on a rooftop car park, and I got in the car, and it took the entire hour drive home to cool the car down, and the top of the black steering wheel was too hot to touch. Yeah. um, no worries, B. I do prefer. Well, I mean, obviously, I prefer. In an ideal world, I would live in a temperate climate that, doesn't go below 10 but doesn't go above 20. Like, if I could live in that sort of zone, I'd be perfectly happy. But if I had to choose hot or cold, I choose cold because it's much easier to warm yourself up than it is to cool yourself down. Um, so yeah, we may or may not get proper air conditioning, hopefully. It's not actually that expensive. I need to potentially see. I am perfectly capable of installing it myself, but I may, for regulation's sake, have to get a professional to install it. Um, anyway, so I need to see how much that would be on top of um, the unit, and also the unit that I'd like, which is a standard outdoor mini split unit with two heads. That's also an air source heat pump, like it's reversible, which makes perfect sense. Air conditioning units are just heat pumps, and why not have a expansion valve that's like reversible? Makes so much sense. But yeah, I'm probably going to take it apart before it gets installed to flash ESP Home on the Toya module that's in there so that I can control it myself locally rather than using their stupid app. So yeah, fun times. Um, I like the look of the new EcoFlow aircon unit. Bit pricey though. I've not seen EcoFlow's aircon units. I've seen a lot of their battery bank stuff, but I've not seen their aircons. But also, I can imagine how it might be expensive. The one that I was looking at was from Electric with a Q at the end. iCool, IQOOL. Um, Probably the 12,000 BTU dual head unit. £900 for their third gen unit. I mean, the unit that with the dual heads that I was looking at is 1,000 for 12,000 BTU or 900 for dual 9,000 BTU. So yeah, I'll have a look. The UK has a lack of installation expertise. What's they do, which is why I'm somewhat concerned about trying to find someone who could do it, uh, because anyone that's good will be booked up for a decade. um, and like the problem is I know too much to be dangerous. Like I know enough to be dangerous, and I'm sure that I'm missing plenty of you know, knowledge, whatever. But also, I did design a heat pump like system to be able to uh generate electricity. Like it worked out not to be efficient enough, but I have enough understanding of refrigeration systems, which frankly are pretty simple, to be dangerous. um, but I have read the installation manual, and it is just drilling a couple holes in the wall, putting some pipes in, and then connecting the pipes. It's the units come pre-charged with the refrigerant, uh, so meh. And even if they don't, it's just a vacuum pump and a dual gauge setup like you would for your car's air conditioning system, uh, and then a refrigerant bottle of what is essentially just propane. Um, yeah, this is why it's dangerous because yeah. The bed heating and cooling system isn't. is not air conditioning. It's not a condenser system. It is a Peltier module, which is the other way to do heating and cooling, but it's a lot less efficient. It makes perfect sense for that application, but it's not suitable for whole homes and things or fridges or something like that. I'm actually going to be upgrading that. I've decided that the flow rate isn't good enough, so I'm gonna run tubing, slightly thicker tubing, which should be here probably tomorrow, um, through the mattress topper, basically. Clean out the system, use coolant instead of just plain water because it already got gunked up and it's nasty. Um, and yeah, and then run it in cooling mode for the next however long. Um, yeah. Just make sure you pull the vacuum for 30 to 45 minutes. Yeah, I mean, it's the same for car AC refrigerant systems. You pull the vacuum for, depending on the shop and the uh, anything from like 15 minutes to an hour. Which part of the, right. For those of you who don't know, air conditioning systems are actually relatively simple. Hello, Ab. You're joining us on a lesson on air conditioning. Don't ask. Um, so basically, you have a closed loop, a compressor that compresses the refrigerant, and yes, we are turning into technology connections. What can I say? You have a high side and a low side of the system. The high side is high pressure side. That is what the compressor pumps into, and then there is an expansion valve that separates those two sides, such that when the gases expand, I can't remember whose law it is, but as gases expand, their temperature changes, or as they're compressed, their temperature changes. So it gets hotter when it's compressed, it expands, and it cools off. And because of the boiling point of the various refrigerants that we use, that happens at a very beneficial temperature. And what that means is that of the two radiators that are on either side of that system, one of them is able to absorb heat and one of them is able to reject heat. And wow, that is a lot of thunder. The magic of heat pumps, by the way, is that expansion valve is reversible, so you can change the flow going basically one way or the other. So you can compress it into the home or you can compress it out of the home, and that changes which way the heat is extracted. Boyle's law sounds right, but it's been a while since I looked at the science behind it. Again, designing a heat pump to reduce ocean temperatures like 10 years ago. Where was I at? Right. Oh yeah, the magic of latent heat. Thank you, Energy Connections, Alec. So, but the the magic here is that a the system needs to be fully emptied. So you draw a vacuum in the system and then refill it with refrigerant. Partially that is so that there are no contaminants like water. And basically that's so that you can make sure that the boiling point of your refrigerant is accurate. Because if you add water into it, much like if you add water into brake fluid, you change its boiling point, and therefore you change the heat transfer effects that it has. One of the things that especially car refrigerant systems have that, say, fridge systems often don't have is what's called a receiver dryer. So that's basically just a bunch of silica gel that the refrigerant has to go through before getting into either the compressor or into the condenser or into the it's the condenser and They're both radiators, but there's a special name for the one that's in the heater core, basically. Anyway, point is, you got to dry that out. Now, in your car system, that receiver dryer is meant to be replaced whenever you open the system. Most people don't. But basically, as long as you vacuum it for long enough, the water vapor will depends. The silica gel might have bound to it significantly enough that it won't come out. But any excess water vapor that is loose in the system will be evacuated out, boiled off, as you drop the pressure and the boiling point changes. Wow, that is a lot of thunder. Oh. Anyway, where was I? um. Also, hello, Luca. How you doing, man? How's things? I like water in my brake fluid. Like makes life more exciting. Uh, one is a radiator, one is the condenser. I mean, I guess that's true, but what? No, one of them, the condenser and the evaporator. I think that's the names. And in a car, the evaporator is the one that's in your heater core, and the condenser is the one that's strapped to your radiator at the front to dissipate the heat that is brought out of the car. Yeah. Not to be confused with your evaporative emissions system. But still. I'm not allowed to touch the thermostat, so cool air comes from the ceiling, hot air from the floor vents from the furnace. Knowledge! Fair play. I mean, it must be raining. I can hear buses and stuff, tires on the outside there. Decided to get a new motherboard for Manas. Didn't realize that M80X, different sizes, new tough board is like 1 to 2 centimeter more board on the 24-pin side. Yeah, they tend to do that, which is really annoying, but also, yeah, they do. Anyway, now we're all here. Do you want to learn about my new tool? I got the boards. It looks more complicated than it is, I promise. In fact, there's actually only two things. There's a force sensor that goes here and a motor that goes here. This is the testing jig for the motor, where my calipers go here, and then I can measure the movement of it. But yeah, it's plugged in, working. Yeah, it's for testing keyboards and mice. Switch actuation points, all that jazz. I'm quite pleased with it, actually. I keep making the board smaller and smaller for each different device. So. Not by, like, not on purpose. It just happens that needs a lot less stuff on it than, say, the response time tool. Although, to be honest, I could definitely shrink the response time tool if I wanted to. I don't, because it works fine and who cares, but... Yeah. So I've been working on that. I also have a 3D monitor in. Now, before any get smart, all monitors are 3D. Shut up. A monitor that gives you a glasses-free 3D experience. Yes. That still exists. And it's really, really weird. Yeah. Yeah. It's also horrendously expensive. Does anyone want to take a guess at how much a 27-inch 4K 160 Hz AHVA 3D monitor actually costs? Okay, it's not that horrendously expensive. Okay, I mean, B, you might be closer. On Bazaar, you're closer than most of them actually, which is worrying. Um, it's 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 £2,200, although it's currently on sale for 1,800. Considering that the Sony OLED, wait, have you seen the Sony OLED video yet, or is that coming out on Monday? It's coming out on Monday. There's a fucking amazing monitor that's coming, a video that's coming out on Monday, from Sony. That is only £1,100 for a 1440p new generation WOLED that's 480 hertz. And the crazy thing is that the Sony one is like £400 more than LG's version of the same monitor. Oh dear. Bargain. The 3D TV we got when we came out was £2,000. That's about right for the price. Waiting for those hand terminals from the Expanse. Or micro LED to come down in price and get bigger. I'm still definitely of the opinion that OLED is the future. So I'm mostly waiting for OLEDs to get better and cheaper rather than stuff like mini LED to get better and cheaper, because mini LED still feels like a bandage over an imperfect technology, if that makes sense. Like, mini LED is cool, but what you're basically saying is, well, we're still going to have all the drawbacks of an LCD with slow response times, imperfect, like, color management, etc. But we're also going to put a better but still imperfect backlight. It's a hard selling point when an OLED is not that much more money. Sony's a more expensive round. It's simple as that. Well, actually, you should watch the video because it's not quite that simple, and that's the first time I've ever said that. I was talking about relative humidity, yes. No one knows specific humidity. Like, sensors tell you relative humidity. Um, yeah. OLED is fantastic, but it's always twice the price. They're coming down a lot. A lot. Micro LED, all the benefits of OLED with the benefits of VIA IPS, 10K nits brightness. Yes, please. 800 hertz refresh. Yes. $100,000 pricing. Nah. I mean, fair enough. Am I to understand that micro LED is essentially OLED by a different name, as in it is microscopic LEDs rather that do like red, green, and blue LEDs rather than what mini LED is, which is just a backlight technology strapped to the back of an existing TFT screen or LCD screen. Am I right on that? Actual humidity would get kind of damp, especially 100%. Yeah, fair enough, B. No worries. I will do my best to remember to look it up and see. LG OLED's cheap for a few years. Cheap a few years ago. Got a 1-year-old 55-inch for £1,000. That's not bad. I don't know how much a C2 or C3 is. OG C3. There's a C3 Evo, which I assume is the newest one. Do they have a price? Do they have a buy button? So what website is this, LG? How much? What? One place has it listed for £1,500. Okay. One. Uh, what's the newest one then? What's LG's newest? Oh god. Thing is, micro LED. As micro LED gets smaller and more dense, you always get the inconsistent degradation of LEDs and get burn-in, like OLED. So IMO improving OLED is the future. I would agree. I mean, I'm not opposed to differing technologies to get us to better micro nano LEDs that last longer, for sure. Apparently, OLED Evo is the newest line at the very least. C5. Holy shit, they're expensive. How much is a 55-inch one of those? £2,000. I mean, for a 55-inch fancy TV, not insane. Yeah. Ba 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 ba. Richard, so the thing about 20% relative humidity is that it was 30 degrees in the garden, which dropped the humidity. Like, if I check the garden temperature, so it was 10 degrees at like, what, 6 o'clock this morning. But if I check the humidity, it was 55% relative humidity at that same time. But as the temperature went up, the relative humidity went down because the whole thing about relative humidity is that the hotter the air is, the more water carrying capacity it has, therefore the humidity would go down. If your internal house temperature was at 30 degrees Celsius today, you likely would have had a pretty similar relative humidity. So, yeah. The actual amount of water that was in the air probably stayed pretty similar all day until now and it's raining, but yeah, it uh actually probably went down over the day in the grand scheme of things because sun and heat, but still. OLED seemed to keep going up in price in Australia. Was going to get a C4 55-inch, but 3200. When they came out, C2 was 2500 for the same size. Damn, that's kind of surprising. And not something that I have experience with, unfortunately. I had a peak of 35% humidity today. Where? Bit muggier up here. When the AI hype train gets old, the 3D hype can return. Oh dear. Yeah. No. No. The 3D that it's Acer's Spatial Labs monitor, by the way. The PSV27-2. That the technology, it's really weird. The technology that they're offering is only available on a handful of their displays, like a laptop or two and a couple of monitors, basically, right? And yet they put quite a lot of effort into the whole Spatial Labs thing. They've got an OpenXR plugin. They've got Unreal plugin, like UE4, UE5 plugins. Like documentation for stuff. Like they've put a decent amount of effort into this Spatial Labs thing, but it only works if you have one of their monitors or like one or two laptops. And it's just, I don't know. Luca, I wouldn't know, but probably. Because I know that the OLED panels, there's only a few generations of those. C4 is more explosive. Nice. Yeah. Yes, my LG Semtex. I wouldn't be happy if I had to buy a new TV every 5 years. So you don't, especially with the newer ones. But yeah, just curious, if you're buying a new TV now, say up to £1,500, what panel type would you get? Good question. I'd probably find an OLED. Yeah, I'd prefer a QD OLED because reasons. Um, Reasons are I'm reading these comments on a QD OLED that I've been using for over a year now with absolutely no burn-in, no problems. Um, so yeah, I'd probably try and find the QD OLED. I don't know what's available for that price, although a 55-inch brand new LG C5 Evo was only 1900, so you don't need like you wouldn't need to bargain hunt that hard to find a £1,500 one, basically. Um, well, hey Simon, apparently that LG TV pricing going up has happened here too. Because it was 919 and now it's 1200. Somehow convinced her to get it during a Costco trip, then moved out. Fair. uh, um, yeah, fair enough. I mean, I know that Costco does sell LG OLEDs a fair bit. LG OLED. Well, apparently you can get an LG OLED 55-inch for £700. Wow. And a further £70 reduction automatically applied at checkout. Wow. That is an LG 55B42LA, apparently. They do list a couple of C ones, but not with prices. You have to log in to view the price. Still love the LG OLED with the Pixel sound. The 32-inch one that Optimum did a good review on, but aren't available anymore. I haven't seen that. What's the Pixel sound? Don't care what CPU it has, it's getting the Google TV 4K treatment. Yeah, fair enough. That's what I use. I got a TiVo Android dongle. Fair. Yeah, I wouldn't want to use the TV's built-in anything. Yeah. Yeah, it's an external unit like a Roku or whatever. That £700 one has G-Sync too. Wow. All right. Decent. That's impressive. Also, just as a fun note, so my like outdoor weather station that I've been referencing here, was a Pimeroni Enviro weather board. and still is, but the Raspberry Pi Pico W that's on the back of that board died. And their implementation was just kind of horrible. So I strapped an ESP, I think it's an 8266, to it, and basically like rewrote their all the functions, but in uh with the ESP Home. So that's how it's connected to Home Assistant. That's how I'm getting the data. But one of the funny things is that that weather station has a wind reading and a rain meter. The rain meter has never worked. Neither has the wind, although the wind is quite funny. Uh, because it reports in meters per second. Um, this morning, at oh no, sorry, last night at 11:30, we apparently peaked at 28,764.9 meters per second of wind speed. I really need to fix that at some point, but yeah, I don't know what 27,000. What was it? Nearly 29,000 meters per second is in miles per hour. It's 65,000 miles an hour. I think I got it a little wrong. No, it's about 65,000 miles an hour. It's currently at 394 meters per second, which is a bit. LG 32GS95UE. There's a variant without pixel sound. I will also do my best to remember to have a look at that too. Samsung's won't make me want to cry every time I use it. Fair. So Luca loves their OS, Chris loves their OS, Simon hates their OS. Lol, fair. Although Simon hates both apparently, which is also fair. Hello John, how you doing, man? How's things? I am still alive. I've had another stabbing. I mean infusion. Wonder when the RTX 6000 Blackwell, the one that looks like the FE, is going to be in stock soon. 6,000 Blackwell? Or 5,000? Because 6,000 isn't coming out for another decade. Yeah, escape velocity, indeed. Indeed. This is very good. Lady moved into my tiny apartment. Not so bad. No personal space on me anymore. Nice. Well, congratulations. Very well done. And yeah. Nice. A decade may be a slight overstatement of the truth. The 96K variant. I haven't heard, but I'm also not one for rumors. I'm not one to hear rumors. In fact, I hear about the rumors from you lot. So yeah. Yeah. Um. Hello, but yeah. How you doing, those things? Good to have you. Costco just gave me the login cannot be completed due to account expiration message. RIP. I don't have a Costco account, unfortunately. My friend does, but my lad had to do his first wheel change the other night. He jacked his car up on the sill. Oh dear. Ouch. Expensive lesson. I'm actually swapping to my summer wheels at the weekend. Because my winter wheels, it's now 20 degrees, and I could use the uh, the grippier compound. Although I do love my winter wheels. Very nice. I have to do an oil change this weekend, but my ramps are too steep for the Volvo, and I don't have a jack anymore. Hmm. Can you put a ramp in front of the ramp? Sticking with my all-season wintry things, just gonna go through the Treadmaster. Fair, yeah. Well, the problem for me was I had summer-only tires and could really have done better. So I got some winter wheels, but then that means I need to swap them out every, well, 6 months or so, basically. The funny thing is that I've accidentally done most of my mileage this calendar year on the winter tires, which means that I will have an advisory for you probably need some new tires for like 4 years in a row on the MOT. Because my MOT is in like mid-June, whatever. So I'm swapping back to the summer ones now. I'm not going to put that many miles on them, so there's no point in changing them. But I'm just going to keep getting advisories for it. Oh dear. Fair play me. Might just drive onto the pallet I've got spare. Fair. I need to jack up the front end and maybe put them on some logs or the 3-ton car stands. What to put the logs / stands under, since I'm using the jack up spot with, well, the jack. I assume that you're talking about the 1 series, right? I'm going to wait for your reply. Since Microsoft will be Microsoft? Nintendo? I know Nintendo is. Raising their game prices to $80. What are your thoughts on $80 games? Well, I'll come back to it. It's complicated. Remind me to come back to it. John, good. BMW have this magical thing called a central jacking point. If you slide your jack under the front of the car, under the engine, on the subframe, there is a little puck that's sticking out from under the under tray that you can jack the entire front of the car up on without having to use the jacking points on the side, which would then require you to find somewhere else to put your jack stands. Now, you can certainly jack it up on the side. We've jacked up many BMWs from all of those places with no problem. You just need to find a structural bolt, ideally, basically. So, especially on the front end. It's the hand jack from a Mercedes V-Class, not a big lever one. Well, never mind that. So if you're jacking it out from the side, on the front end, you have a load of suspension, and there are a number of structural points in that suspension. Find one of those. In fact, BMW 1 Series under... Sure. Images. Show me wide. Show me closer than that. Okay. No? Where's the... So yeah, I don't know what model which version this will be, but there is a an aluminium subframe on the front, and there are a number of bolts that hold that subframe up to the car. Just put the jack under one of those points, under one of those bolts, because that is a structural member of the chassis. Those cars don't normally have frame rails that you can put them on instead, but yeah. That one, and that one. Right. Jack up under the suspension if the jack points are needed for the stands. Yeah, it depends on the car and whatnot as well. My Audi, in fact, both our Audis don't have jacking points. It's the sill, but it's also the frame. It's stupid and complicated, but there's enough space just to put a jack and a stand next to each other, which sucks, but yeah. Right, game problems. Oh, Microsoft just announced their games will be 82. Ah, okay, wonderful. Well, so here's the thing. I'm kind of not surprised. If you think about how much money you pay to, like, I don't know, see a film in the cinema, right? You're paying, what is it, 15, 20 quid now? For a couple hours at most of entertainment. A video game minimum is 10 hours these days. Realistically, it's like 20 to hundreds. We're also essentially demanding more out of the games. We're demanding more content. We're demanding more stuff. Now, to be clear, there is a difference between an indie developer or even a AAA developer who has put in an awful lot of time, money, and effort into making a frankly amazing game, and they are looking to recoup their cost for having made that game and make some money from doing it, right? And I don't know, EA. There's a difference. Especially because there's often other monetization systems. So, like, paying 80 quid or $80 for the new COD when the entire point of COD is just a microtransaction system, that feels wrong, that feels dirty, right? But I don't know. Yeah, if an indie dev could get away with charging $80 for a game, I mean, even with Nintendo, if they're not, what do you call it? Like, I'm not a Nintendo user, so my experience of their more recent stuff is limited. I know that they have, like, Nintendo Online, whatever, that you pay for, but, like, Mario doesn't have microtransactions, does it? I feel like a bit of an old fart asking that, but yeah. So for someone like Nintendo, where at least for their game studios, the money from them selling the games, like, is the money they make from making the games is selling them. Kind of get it. Don't like it, but I kind of get it. And then there's also just, like, inflation. If everybody's going to pay more for everything, then that means that you've got to pay more for everything, which includes video games. Again, don't like it, but yeah. I mean, I'm sure that the answer is the answer that they would give is unprecedented inflation mixed with higher like cost of developing the game. Like, more content, more work. And not just more raves being traced. Because who gives a fuck? Spider-Man 2 cost over $300 million to make. Come on, man. As in the game. Well, fair. Hope it made that back. It'll get many people to jump on Game Pass too. Well, that's the other thing, is that if someone like Microsoft can convince you to pay them 10, 20 quid a month, whatever, instead of £80 once every whatever, that's better for them. I don't disagree with you, Simon. Like I said, that's what I mean about there's a difference between uh like an indie dev who has poured their entire life into making something and their entire savings into something, charging a bit more, uh, versus EA or Activision, who's now Microsoft. Ugh. Ugh. One of them charging more. Um, yeah, not happy about it, but I am kind of surprised how little we pay for games. No, no worries. It's a perfectly reasonable topic. uh, um, Someone mentioned the triangle under the suspension as well. Don't know the name, especially not in English. Triangle under the suspension. As in the lower control arm? Um, Seems like we've been buying the games with a new wrapper for a decade or more now. Well, again, that's the interesting thing, and that's what I mean about there's a motive difference that makes a difference. Like, again, indie studio who's poured their heart into making something amazing. Yeah. Um, Fair enough. You want to charge a bit more than someone else. I don't know, whatever. Versus the next COD, which is the exact same game with a new number on it. You know. Yeah. Lower control arms look like a wishbone, not a triangle. I don't know how many lower control arms you've seen, but a lot of them just look like triangles. Double A arms look like wishbones for sure, but there are lots of lower control arms that are you would just describe as a big metal triangle. um, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Steam has a lot of great games. Uh, the games might be technically better without being better games. Well, yeah, I mean, to describe what is better is um to uh pass judgment on what good and bad is when it comes to a game, because it can be technically proficient, it can be technically excellent. Ray tracing can look amazing, but can also ruin a game because it runs at 30 FPS no matter what settings you run at. Like, sure, it's a great slideshow. AT will be expensive and the games are digital only, and it can be just deleted one day. Yeah, that's the kind of problem with like buying games these days is that it's just becoming more and more clear that you don't own the game, you own a license to the game that can be revoked at any time. And so is there that much difference than just paying someone a license to access an entire library of games like Microsoft Game Pass? Hard to say. There's still a textural difference to it, but hard to say. Um, John, if you're on the Discords, feel free to drop a message in general or whatever, and I'll after the stream I'll find some pictures of the undersides of one series and circle where you should put a jack or stand. I seem to remember something about that, Chris, but I have not heard anything further. Mostly because the wheels of bureaucracy turn very slowly, and I hate to live in a dream mode. That's true. Fortnite is free. That is also true. Although Fortnite is free because of microtransactions. Or are they macrotransactions now? Yeah. Some say Fortnite ruined the industry. They... I don't know that I would say they ruined the industry because they didn't do anything new. Games have been doing battle passes and microtransactions and arbitrated currencies and like cosmetic purchases like that and all that sort of stuff is long before PUBG, Fortnite existed. They definitely capitalized on it and made it profitable and acceptable. It was always profitable and somewhat acceptable, but yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, and yes, PUBG, Fortnite is cartoony PUBG. Yes, same thing. Hop on PUBG after. I mean, probably not. Yeah. I think I'm getting tired. So I am gonna disappear. I hope you all have a wonderful day and weekend. Hope you all stay safe, have fun, and I'll see you on Monday for a very interesting Sony Monster review. Right. Catch you next week. Bye.